You wake up, swing your legs off the bed, and there it is again. Your ankles swollen, tight, unfamiliar. You've been told it's your heart, your age, something you just have to accept. But what if that's not the full story? What if something overlooked is driving the swelling day after day? And more importantly, what if a simple shift in your routine could begin to reverse it? Before you dismiss this as another health myth, you need to hear this, because what's really happening inside your body might surprise you. And ignoring it could be costing you comfort, mobility, and independence. Swollen ankles after 65 aren't always about your heart. In many cases, your lymphatic system is the missing piece no one talks about. Today, we'll uncover a simple daily habit that may change everything. There's a hidden system in your body working quietly every single day, moving fluid, clearing waste, and supporting your immune health. It's called the lymphatic system, and unlike your heart, it doesn't have a pump. It depends almost entirely on movement. That's where the problem begins, especially after 65. As you age, your body naturally becomes less active. Even if you consider yourself mobile, chances are your daily movement is far less dynamic than it used to be. You sit more, you rest more, your muscles contract less frequently. And without those regular contractions, your lymphatic system starts to slow down almost like a traffic jam building up in your lower body. This slowdown doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, subtle, and often goes unnoticed until the symptoms start to show up. One of the most common and most misunderstood symptoms is swelling in the ankles and feet. Here's what most people get wrong. They immediately assume it's a heart issue. And while heart conditions can cause swelling, they're not always the root cause, especially when the swelling is mild, consistent, and worse at the end of the day. In many cases, what you're seeing is fluid that simply isn't being moved efficiently out of your lower limbs. Think of your lymphatic system as a drainage network. When it's working properly, excess fluid is collected and circulated back into your bloodstream. But when it slows down, that fluid starts to pool, especially in areas affected by gravity, like your ankles. And here's the surprising part. Your lymphatic system doesn't respond to medication the same way your cardiovascular system does. You can take pills to manage blood pressure or heart rate, but there's no simple prescription that activates a lymph flow. That's why so many people feel frustrated. They follow medical advice, take their medications, and yet the swelling remains. What's rarely discussed is that your lymph system needs something very specific to function well: rhythmic, consistent muscle movement. Walking helps, gentle stretching helps, even simple ankle rotations can make a difference. But when these movements are missing or inconsistent, fluid stagnation becomes more likely. Another overlooked factor is muscle loss. As you age, you naturally lose muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia. Less muscle means less natural compression on your lymph vessels. That compression is essential because it helps push fluid upward against gravity. Without it, the system becomes sluggish. Posture also plays a role. Long periods of sitting, especially with your feet down, create the perfect environment for fluid to accumulate. If you've ever noticed your ankles looking more swollen in the evening than in the morning, that's not a coincidence. That's gravity combined with reduced lymphatic activity throughout the day. The real issue is awareness. Most people are never told that this system even exists, let alone that it plays a critical role in swelling. So they default to the most common explanation: it's just aging, or it must be my heart. And while those assumptions are understandable, they can prevent you from addressing the real cause. The good news, unlike many age-related changes, lymphatic slowdown is highly responsive to the right kind of stimulus. It doesn't require intense exercise or complicated routines. In fact, small, targeted movements done consistently can begin to reactivate flow and reduce that heavy, tight feeling in your ankles. But it starts with understanding this. Your body isn't just holding onto fluid for no reason. It's responding to a system that's no longer moving the way it should. And once you recognize that, you can begin to work with your body, not against it, to restore balance. When your ankles begin to swell, the first explanation many people hear is, it could be your heart, and in some cases, that's absolutely true. Conditions like heart failure can cause fluid buildup in the legs and feet. So doctors often respond with medications designed to support heart function or reduce fluid levels in the body. But here's where things become confusing and often frustrating. You take the medication exactly as prescribed. You stay consistent. You expect relief. Yet your ankles still look swollen by the end of the day. The tightness in your shoes hasn't gone away. The imprint of your socks is still there, and you're left wondering, if the treatment is correct, why isn't the problem improving? The answer may lie in a simple but overlooked reality. Not all swelling is caused by the heart. Heart medications are designed to address specific issues, improving how efficiently your heart pumps blood, reducing excess fluid through diuretics, or lowering blood pressure to ease strain on your cardiovascular system. These are important and often life-saving interventions. But they target the bloodstream and fluid balance at a systemic level, not the movement of lymphatic fluid at a local level. And that distinction matters more than most people realize. Your body manages fluid through more than one system. While your cardiovascular system circulates blood, your lymphatic system is responsible for collecting and transporting excess fluid, proteins, and waste products from your tissues. When the lymphatic system slows down, especially in the lower body, fluid can begin to accumulate in the spaces between cells. This type of buildup doesn't always respond well to heart-focused medications. So even if your heart is functioning reasonably well, and even if your medications are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, you may still experience swelling because the lymphatic system isn't keeping up. There's another layer to this issue that often goes unnoticed. Some medications themselves can contribute to swelling. Certain blood pressure drugs, for example, may cause fluid retention in the lower extremities as a side effect. This doesn't mean the medication is wrong or harmful. It simply means the situation is more complex than a single cause and a single solution. This is why relying on medication alone can sometimes leave a gap in treatment. You're addressing one part of the problem while another part remains untouched. It's also important to recognize how the body prioritizes circulation. Blood flow is driven by the heart, which means it has a central, powerful pump. But lymph flow depends on movement, specifically the contraction and relaxation of muscles. When you walk, stretch, or even shift your weight, you're helping push lymph fluid through tiny vessels that don't have their own pump. Without that movement, fluid can settle, especially in areas farthest from the heart, like your ankles. This helps explain a pattern many people notice: swelling that worsens throughout the day and improves overnight. When you're lying down, gravity is no longer pulling fluid downward, and some of that buildup naturally redistributes. But once you're upright again, sitting or standing for long periods, the cycle repeats. So the issue isn't necessarily that your treatment is failing. It's that your body is dealing with two different systems, and only one is being actively supported. Understanding this can shift how you think about the problem. Instead of asking, "Why aren't my medications working?" a more useful question becomes, "Is there another system involved that I haven't addressed yet?" That question opens the door to a more complete approach, one that combines medical care with simple, targeted actions that support lymphatic flow. Because while medications can regulate fluid levels in your bloodstream, they can't replace the role of movement in keeping your lymphatic system active. And once you begin to see swelling through that lens, the path forward becomes clearer, not more complicated, just more complete. If your lymphatic system depends on movement, then the real question becomes simple: what kind of movement actually works? Not all activity is equal when it comes to reducing ankle swelling. Long walks, intense workouts, or standing for hours might seem helpful, but they can sometimes make swelling worse, especially if they're not designed to support lymph flow. What your body responds to best is gentle, rhythmic, and consistent motion, particularly movements that activate the muscles in your lower legs. Think of your calves and ankles as a kind of secondary pump. Every time these muscles contract and relax, they help push fluid upward, away from your feet and back into circulation. This is where the idea of a focused 10-minute daily habit becomes powerful. It's not about pushing your limits. It's about working with your body's natural design in a way that's simple, repeatable, and effective. Start with the most overlooked movement of all, ankle flexing. While seated or lying down, slowly point your toes away from you, then pull them back toward your body. This small motion activates the calf muscles in a gentle, controlled way. When done repeatedly, it begins to stimulate the flow of lymphatic fluid that may have been sitting stagnant in your lower legs. Next, introduce ankle circles. Rotate your feet in slow, deliberate circles, first in one direction, then the other. This helps mobilize the joints and encourages fluid movement in multiple directions, rather than just up and down. It also reduces stiffness, which can further improve circulation over time. Another key movement is heel-tit, or rocking. If you're able to stand safely, gently rock your weight from your heels to your toes and back again. This mimics the natural motion of walking, but in a more controlled and focused way. It activates the full length of the calf muscle, creating a stronger pumping effect without requiring a long walk or extended effort. Elevation is also part of this habit, but with a purpose. Simply putting your feet up isn't enough if there's no movement involved. However, when you combine elevation with gentle ankle motions, you create an ideal environment for fluid to move out of your lower limbs. Gravity assists the process, while your muscles provide the push. What makes this 10-minute routine so effective is consistency. The lymphatic system doesn't respond to intensity the way muscles do. It responds to repetition. Small movements done regularly can have a cumulative effect that builds over time. Skipping days or doing too much all at once is far less effective than showing up daily for a short, focused session. Timing also matters more than most people realize. Doing these movements in the evening when swelling is typically at its worst can help reduce fluid buildup before you go to bed. This may lead to less stiffness and discomfort the next morning. On the other hand, a short session in the morning can wake up your lymphatic system and prepare your body for the day ahead. One of the biggest advantages of this approach is accessibility. You don't need special equipment. You don't need a gym. You don't even need to leave your chair. This makes it especially valuable for individuals who may have limited mobility or who feel discouraged by more demanding exercise routines. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you adopt a habit like this. Instead of feeling like your body is working against you, you begin to see how small actions can create meaningful change. That sense of control can be just as important as the physical results. Over time, many people notice subtle improvements: less tightness in their shoes, reduced sock marks, a lighter feeling in their legs. These changes don't always happen overnight, but they build steadily with consistency. The key is not to overcomplicate it. You're not trying to overhaul your entire lifestyle. You're simply giving your lymphatic system the one thing it needs most, and the one thing it often lacks: movement done with intention. And when that movement becomes part of your daily routine, it stops feeling like a task and starts functioning like a solution. You might think swollen ankles are simply the result of aging or an unavoidable health issue, but what if part of the problem is built into your daily routine? Not the big, obvious habits, but the small, repeated ones you barely notice. These silent patterns can quietly slow your lymphatic flow and allow fluid to build up in your lower legs without you realizing it. Start with one of the most common culprits: prolonged sitting. Whether it's watching television, reading, or spending hours on your phone, sitting with your feet down for long stretches creates the perfect environment for fluid to settle in your ankles. Gravity is constantly pulling downward, and without regular muscle contractions to push fluid back up, it begins to pool. Even if you feel relaxed and comfortable, your lymphatic system is gradually becoming less active. But it's not just sitting, it's how you sit. Crossing your legs, for example, can restrict circulation and compress lymphatic vessels. Sitting in low chairs where your knees are bent sharply can also limit proper flow. These positions might feel natural, but over time, they can contribute to the very swelling you're trying to avoid. Another overlooked habit is wearing tight clothing around the lower body. Socks with strong elastic bands, snug shoes, or tight pants can create subtle pressure points that interfere with fluid movement. You might notice marks on your skin at the end of the day. Those aren't just impressions. They're signs that fluid has been trapped and unable to circulate freely. Hydration is another factor that often gets misunderstood. Many people assume that drinking less water will reduce swelling, but the opposite can be true. When your body is underhydrated, it tends to hold onto fluid as a protective response. This can make swelling more noticeable, not less. Proper hydration supports overall fluid balance and helps your body move waste and excess fluid more efficiently. Then there's the issue of inactivity disguised as rest. Rest is important, especially as you age, but too much passive rest without movement can slow your lymphatic system even further. Lying down for long periods without engaging your muscles doesn't provide the stimulation your body needs to keep fluid moving. It's not about avoiding rest, it's about balancing it with gentle activity. Footwear also plays a role. Shoes that lack proper support can reduce natural foot and ankle movement, limiting the muscle activity that helps pump fluid upward. On the other hand, shoes that are too tight can restrict circulation. Finding the right balance, supportive but not constricting, is more important than most people realize. Even your daily routine structure can contribute to the problem. Long, uninterrupted blocks of time in one position, whether sitting or standing, are particularly challenging for your lymphatic system. The body thrives on variation. Small changes, like standing up every 30-60 minutes or doing brief ankle movements throughout the day, can make a noticeable difference over time. Sleep position is another subtle factor. While lying flat can help redistribute fluid, keeping your legs slightly elevated may provide additional support for reducing overnight swelling. It's a small adjustment, but one that aligns with how your body naturally manages fluid. What makes these habits silent is that they don't feel harmful in the moment. There's no immediate discomfort or warning signal, but over days, weeks, and months, they create conditions that allow fluid to accumulate more easily. And because they're part of your normal routine, they often go unchallenged. The key isn't to overhaul your entire lifestyle overnight. It's to become aware of these patterns and make small, intentional shifts. Uncross your legs, choose looser socks. Take short movement breaks, stay hydrated. These changes may seem minor, but they directly support the systems responsible for keeping fluid moving. When you start to see how your daily habits influence your body, something important shifts. Swelling no longer feels random or uncontrollable. It becomes something you can influence step by step, habit by habit. And that's where real progress begins, not with drastic measures, but with the quiet correction of the things you do every single day.